Hey guys, my name is Chris, aka Crypto. I'm a senior security engineer at Zokyo, and today we have Saksham here, who's one of our very talented security researchers here at Zokyo, who's very kindly offered up his time to talk a little bit about his experience in Web3 and share some of his tips and tricks for taking on hardened security competitions on Sherlock. He's achieved first place in the Mento 40K contest earlier this year and has achieved the top 10 results 3 times with 7 top 25 finishes. Well done. Welcome,
Thanks, man.
Saksham. How are you today?
I'm great, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good.
Doing good. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into technology and, your journey from where you started?
So hello everyone. I'm Saksham, currently a security researcher at Zokyo. I started my security journey back in 2019 during my third year of college. I was doing Bachelor's of Sciences in Computer Science. So I started with the basics, like if you know their name, like Nahamsec or Inside, etc. And what I started with was like normal bug bounty stuff in Web2, like working with Burp Suite, finding IDOs, finding excesses, etc. And like I did HackerOne for 2.5 years, and I think I'm still top 1,000 there. I have like a decent amount of reputation there, but like I left that around 2022, or around the beginning of 2023, I think. And then like I was all into Web3 then, and yeah, here I am doing contests and doing all this stuff. Okay.
Yeah, nice. How come you decided to move on from Web 2? Like, what was it about Web 3 that appealed to you?
Like working in Web 2, I think I still believe that the competition in Web 2 is far more greater than the competition in Web 3. Um, Also, like I thought that my progress graph was not that, consistent. Like it was kind of constant, and like I was not making money, I think, that I should have been making. And then I saw like these tweets, Samsung making $1 million for a bounty, and all that money in Web3. Like if you think about it, everything in Web3, like every s- unique exploit is connected to losses in money. So like that's intriguing to me. Like, even a low hanging fruit can be resulted in like millions of dollars lost. So like I think that's interesting. That was interesting, and started with like Ethernet CTFs, capture the flags, and damn vulnerable DeFi. And like I think after just 2 months of doing CTFs, I was into contests and did my first contest on Code Arena. I think, yeah, it was also beginners. Like I got, uh, I think 14th place there in the blur competition. And then I found like a small, internship kind of thing, and then hopped on to Zokyo.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I had a similar story to you starting off on Web 2. It was, if you remember back in 2021, there was the critical Polygon exploit, which put 24 billion at risk back in 2021. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, that was the bug that drew me into Web 3. Yeah.
Thinking there's too much money there. Like instead of like popping like PIIs and like IDOs, I was more interested in like saving people's money. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, like in Web 2, you're stealing other people's data and stuff, but when it
there
comes
I
to Web 3, you're directly putting your fingers into their wallet and taking money from them. So,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you started with the Sherlock competitions. Did you ever try Code Arena at all? In your bug bounty
Um,
career? Or you mainly
yeah,
Sherlock?
I actually started with Code Arena. So my first contest was the Blood NFT contest, which was on Code Arena. I think like back then Sherlock was not that famous as like compared to Code Arena. And then I did Code Arena contest for 6 months. Obviously, I was like still a beginner, so my results were not that good. And like I still consider myself to be like a decent auditor on Sherlock. So yeah, I left Code Arena just because, like, in my opinion, like doing audits at Zokyo is far more different than doing audits at Sherlock or Code Arena, because, like, at Zokyo we have to find literally every bug, right? Like, even if it's an low hanging fruit or like information, even a typo, I would like mark that in my audit tag. So uh, that's different because I have to get 100% coverage. I'm literally like make sure that I have done my 100% on each and every part of the code. But in Sherlock, like you have to just focus on the higher mediums, right? So that part of the question is solved. So you don't have to focus on the lows or information. So you can just focus on the impact. So like I do those for fun, and if I get a good rank, then that's cherry on top.
Yeah. They don't really they kind of count it as invalid when it comes to and
Yeah,
gas and
even
lows.
lower. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to like show clear impact and mostly like with the POC.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes a very interesting circumstance because sometimes you get low severity vulnerabilities which can be kind of like overlooked, and
Exactly.
then they might very rarely end up being critical, but they could end up being critical. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
so for a beginner, would you suggest Code Arena or would you suggest Sherlock to start with?
Like as a beginner, I would tell you to go for Codalina because they also accept QA reports and I think gas optimizations also. I don't know how they work now, but I have heard they have like two repos now, validator stuff or like hunters, gatherers, etc. But I think if you're a beginner, you should go with Codalina because you will be finding more of QAs and lows and information. So in Sherlock, they won't be counted, so like that might demoralize you. So I think go with Codalina for 2 3 months, and then when you are sure you can pop some criticals or high mediums, then go with Sherlock. Also, make sure that you are ready for the escalations on Sherlock because people would be fighting for your funding to be downgraded to lower information.
Yeah, it gets at least that's one of the main things I've noticed between working in industry and work and doing like competitions. Like I found that the competitions, like you said, with the escalations are very like adversarial. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
but it's a bit more.
Everybody wants, yeah, they want the big prize, right? So, like, basically, it's just they have a set of rules and they are like trying to, map those rules to our findings, and like it's basically like a lawyer thing. Like you're just bending the rules, and like sometimes you're bending the rules and making sure that the judge goes in your favor. So yeah, so it can be draining. Like if you see the Maker Dog contest and like how they are, it's going on. Like there are two findings and one like is related to the hash collision on create two. So you can just brute force that salt, but that brute forcing is not that practical, right? So if you like submit that in a bug bounty, not in a contest, that would be like straight up invalid. So it's difficult to sometimes to judge if a finding should be medium or like not valid in the contest.
Yeah, 100%. So speaking of the audit competitions, tell us a little bit about what happened at the Mento 40K competition where you took down first place. You know, what was your mindset, and you know, how did you end up achieving, you know, some of these awesome results? Like how'd the protocol work, and then how did you go from not knowing what it did to eventually winning?
Yeah, so mentor was interesting one. So like not just for mentor, but even like for literally every contest, what I do is try to manage my time, right? Because I've already said Zokyo also. So I make sure that I get at least 2 days where I don't have to work at Zokyo, but like I can give my time to the contest, and that's obviously Saturday and Sunday. So I started the contest, and what I usually do is if I work 8 hours a day, I would then segment those to like 4 hours for the contest and 4 hours for the Zokyo. Like it basically depends also. Like if the audit at Zokyo is a pretty complex one, so I would do like a 6 hours to 2 hours ratio. But obviously Zokyo audits are the other priority, right? So I manage my time, and I think I ask the right questions too, right? Because like if like I can share my file also, like I still have the file for the mentor contest where I was reading the code and like making comments like, all right, so this can go bad, this can go bad, and like they had an interesting approach to the ERC20s. They implemented the that thing with the straight line equation y is equals to mx plus c. So I think that was interesting. um, and usually my audit process is in like three parts. So the first part is like I'm going through the code like without reading any documentation or even comments. So it the most part was like I'm making sense of the code with the code itself, and also like making comments and like in a simple notepad file writing questions. Okay, this can go bad, this can go bad. So that's the first pass of the code. So after the first pass of the code, I have most of my questions ready, and the second pass of the code is after reading the documentation. So um, now I know what the dev wants, and I know what the code does. So I can like map those two things and find issues that way. And the third part is actually finding like the good issues, like, all right, this is what they want, but that's not going to happen now. So that can be an issue. And I find most of my like unique issues or like good issues during the third pass of the code. And yeah, that's it. Like for Mento, I think it was already audited by a good firm. I don't remember the name obviously. And yeah, so there was this one finding which was related to the contract being paused, and like you can like the contract gets paused and you can actually withdraw your tokens, but as the contract resumes, you can still vote using those tokens because those tokens were used as your voting power. So like that was an edge case, because if you think about it, if a contract has been audited by multiple firms, so there's like no chance that there would be low hanging fruits there. So what you should be doing is focusing on edge cases, like what happens in a pause case scenario, like if the content goes into emergency mode, like what happens if I give zero, what happens? And not we are ERC20 tokens because it's Sherlock, but you can still think about those.
Yeah, yeah. Gotta think
Yeah,
about all those edge
edge cases.
cases.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, was that a unique issue, or was that a part of, or was that were there duplicates in the competition?
it was not a unique issue, but it was the only issue, and yeah, it was a
Yeah,
cool one. Yeah,
yeah, nice. Especially when you have those pre-audited,
exactly. I think that's
yeah,
the
code
yeah
base.
that's the fun of doing contests, because you're doing audits on contests that have already been audited by like multiple firms or multiple solo researchers. So that's cool to find issues there.
Yeah, it's sort of like a massive arms race where you kind of gotta like outsmart the developers, and you gotta outsmart the already very good security firm that already did the audit. So, if you came away with a finding, it's bound to pay.
That's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And for your Sherlock competitions, do you usually write proof of concepts for your findings? Like, how do you usually do your like reports?
So on Sherlock, it's actually not necessary to write proof of concept, provided that you have given enough information and there's already enough proof that the exploit works and the sponsor have already confirmed on the finding. But what I've started to do is like uh, there's another part of my process now that I play with the test suite that the devs gave to us. So I would be playing with the test suite, seeing like what that test do, and like if I have an idea and I see that there's already a test based on that functionality, then I would be playing with it. So you can say like around 60% of times I do write a proof of concept, but it's not necessary. But I think it's super fun to write proof of concept because you know your exploit works. So it's always good to have a proof of concept, but if you're like 100% sure that this exploit works or not, then yeah,
Yeah,
it's not necessary, but it's a good skill to have.
when it's absolutely abundantly clear from the code base that, it's clear there's a vulnerability there.
Yeah,
Don't really have to, but it's usually preferable. Um,
exactly.
yeah. Do you use any kind of like automated tooling in your process, whether it be for reporting or for your auditing? I know some people like to use automated tooling for reporting as well.
I personally, I think I've never used the in my entire like Web3 journey. I think zero times. Yeah, like I tried it 2 years before, but I think it was some Python issues, and I was like, no, I'm not doing anything with Filler now, and I would be doing everything in manually, like doing manually now. I don't use any automated stuff, but I think Foundry first is a good enough for first testing and just normal test suite stuff. Also, no plugins in the VS Code, and but I do take a lot of help from ChatGPT. Some
Yeah. That's actually a very interesting point that you
Yeah,
brought up. Like, what do you think is the impact of like artificial intelligence on our field, you know? It's like absolutely
huge.
game changing.
Exactly. I think I asked ChatGPT at least 10 questions a day.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, let's take my recent like example. Like I was ordering something and there was something, and like they were doing some kind of like weird bit shifting stuff to save gas. So you can consider that there's a UN 256, and what they were doing is squeezing in three variables there. So one was UN 128, UN 132, and something like that. So like if you see that, and it kind of doesn't make sense to you straight away. So like what I did was like just copy that code, give it to ChatGPT, and just say, like explain that to me. And like I think the explanation is too good, man. Like it was like, yeah, so what it's doing is doing compressing three variables into one slot, and it's saving gas. So like that's an example, obviously. So you can, if something doesn't make sense to you, a part of the code or the functionality, you can definitely use ChatGPT. I think it's a game changer. Like especially for me, I was not from a finance background, so long shorts, finance stuff, like it didn't make sense to me straight away. So like I was always asking ChatGPT like, oh, like what's long, what's short, what do you mean by hedging a position? What's that? So I think it helps a lot to like fill those knowledge gaps.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting. A lot of people, there was like the meme going around when ChatGPT dropped that people were scared that, oh, it's gonna take our jobs, then there's gonna be no
No
need
way.
for us. But
Yeah.
in reality, it won't be replacing our jobs. We'll just be working very closely with artificial intelligence technology to make us more efficient at our jobs.
It's not a
Um,
Google search on steroids. So like it
yeah,
won't.
yeah,
So it
exactly.
won't. Yeah, like if you tell ChatGPT to find wealth, it will actually tell you like the most stupid findings. Like there's no access control there, but obviously there should be no access control there. So it's kind of stupid to like find bugs to ChatGPT, but like using that as a teacher is very helpful.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. When it comes to like the world of blockchain and stuff, you have these two worlds that have just come together, the world of finance and the world of technology.
Exactly.
Really helps to fill in those gaps. Yeah. So for someone who just wants to like get into like security research and getting started in Web3 security, like what kind of advice or tips would you give for like the absolute beginner looking to either improve or build a career in Web3? Like pretend like I had never done this stuff before, but I really want to get into it. Like what kind of advice would you give me to get into Web3 security?
Yeah, so like the first thing I advise anyone or like who's in my DMs asking me to how to start into Web3 and like security stuff basically. So what I would tell you to start with is Patrick's course on Foundry on YouTube. Like that's free. So I think that's a 14 hours course, and that's a pretty nice course to start your journey with. And like once you're done with the basics, I would say to like spend some time on the documentation or Solidity. Um, and also like once you have a good grasp of the language and a good grasp of the ecosystem, then I would like this should take around 20 days in my opinion. And after that you should start with CTFs, etc., like dam vulnerable DeFi, Ethernaut. And I think like after that straight away you can go into contest. Like even if you don't win, like where you stand, where you lack, what kind of findings are you missing, uh, and stuff like that. But I also would tell you to not go deep into the rabbit hole of like reading each and every finding there is on solo audit, because like I think there's value in reading findings, but there's no value in like reading findings all day, because I've done that myself and the output was not that much because you would be like forgetting like most of the stuff there. So instead, I would tell you to, let's say you're learning about perpetuals. So like dedicate 10 days to like reading only about perpetuals on solo audit instead of like reading each and every finding. Yeah. So yeah, so I would just say that start with the basics, start with Patrick's course, then go with some CTFs. Like not solve the whole thing. Obviously, there are 35 CTFs in Ethernet, I think. So like do the first 20, do the first five on dam vulnerable define, like go straight into contest. test yourself out, see where you lack, and like I still do it myself. I go to contests to see where I lack, and like even I consider that I need to be like getting better day by day. And I think contests are the best way to test your skills and like be relevant in the industry because you are competing against the best, especially in Sherlock, right? Because there's an LSW, Lee Senior Watson, who would be giving his entire time on the code base. So if you're beating that contestant, then yeah,
You're in a pretty good spot.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think like coding is important to get into the security audits?
If you asked me like around 5 years ago, then it was not. But since I'm in Web3 now, yeah. So I think it's super important to like know how to code. Um, I think sometimes you have to make sense of the code and how the code works because if you don't know coding, you don't know like how the logic flow is, right? Because something can be going from function A to function B to function C or branch A to branch B to branch C. But yeah, that would make sense logically. But if you don't know coding, you would not know like how the values are moving from each function or each branch to different branches. So yeah, coding is definitely necessary in my opinion, but like not in the sense of like you have to be a developer, but like if the code makes sense to you, then that's enough for auditing. So yeah, you should know how to read code, not to write code, especially. And I think also if you audit for like a long enough time, then you will know how to read code eventually. So
Yeah. There's no shortcuts. You just have to do the reps.
yep, no,
You just have to
you
do
have
the
to read
reps,
code
work hard.
exactly.
Yeah. And where do you see the future of Web3 heading? Like how do you see the industry 5 years from now, 10 years from now, impact from AI? Where do you see us going? Because at the moment we're still seeing a lot of hacks these days.
Um, from 5 years from now on, what I would like to see is like more projects coming into the space with like new kind of technologies or like new innovations. Like we don't want another perpetual protocol that does the same thing, right? But a protocol that like does something differently, is innovative and like is different. And so what I want is to like this field to grow obviously because there's so much space for innovation, in my opinion. Like be it Rust or it's Solana or Cosmos ecosystem or obviously EVM stuff. So I think it's growing also. The demand has been growing. We have been getting a lot of orders recently. So I think talking about the hacks, yeah, like there's have been hacks and like a lot of money lost recently. But I also think if you see that the major reason is actually, the loss of like private keys. So that's not a Web3 reason. That's actually Web3 reason. So don't keep your keys on one server. Keep those in like different servers. Maintain a multi-sig.
Yeah,
And yep, always like get an audit from like good firm, and even after one audit, try to get another audit from maybe another firm, a solo researcher, have a bug bounty going on. And security is like a never-ending process, according to me. And yeah, I think the
yeah,
demand is going to
absolutely.
be like crazy in 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a
Yeah,
never-ending
and
process.
yeah, talking about AI, I think uh, it definitely helps, as in like as I said, like as a teacher, telling you about the code, what it does, but I still haven't used any kind of artificial intelligence to like tell me, what's the possible issues in this code base. But I think we are building something cool called Mamoru AI, which is not like an AI that tells you what the bugs are, but it's actually like a threat indicator. Like I don't know what to call it, but basically like an alerting system that your system might be compromised. So I think that's pretty cool. That's super helpful to like know when you have been compromised, like know like a threat alerting
Like
system.
threat intelligence kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, it is really cool. I think that there's been a lot of innovation and really talented bug hunters come out of the woodworks when it comes to attacking protocols, but I think that we still have a really, really long way to go when it comes to actually defending contracts. But doing like defense and like threat intelligence seems very, very different to Web 2. Because, you know, which you've seen many
Exactly.
times. One block, your money is there. The next block, it's all gone.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but with Web 2, you got like stuff like CrowdStrike and, you can deploy agents right across the network. Um, and,
Uh, Web2 has just been there for like a longer time. I think that's the reason. So in 5 years, I think you would be in a
100%.
safer place, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. What about like have you ever been have you ever done much like Immunify or like actual like bug bounty?
For a little while, I did Immunify. I think also did Hack and Proof. I
Yeah,
just got a couple of bugs there, but that's just because I've not given much time there. But like bug bounty is a different game, right? Because I need to like give at least 1 month and like with the mindset that I might not find anything. So like contests are fun, right? Because you're like one-to-one competing with contestants there and there's a time limit and it's just more fun at the moment for me. But yeah, I definitely have plans to like participate in some bug bounties and Unify and pop some bounties. Yeah.
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And how does your mindset change when you go from like competition mindset to like bug bounties? Like you said, you're not guaranteed to find anything.
So like as I said, I would be focusing on like edge cases. Obviously not focusing on like low hanging fruits because I know like a lot of ice has been gone through this code base. So stuff like obviously as I said, like just edge cases that depends on the code base, right? I think we had a cool finding on Zokyo, like going on edge cases because there was something uh related to the like rounding of the token. So what was happening is that I think there was rounding, there was some formula like the amount that multiplied with the rate upon the denominator. And the rate, let's say, was 60 and the denominator was 100. So if you think about it, the maximum loss can be of one way, right? Because if the amount is, let's say, 433 and the rate is 60 and the denominator is 100, then what you will eventually lose is one way of token. So if you think about it, there's no harm there. But if you actually read the code and go through it entirely, you would see that that amount was being multiplied by the token decimals at the end. So what you are eventually losing was the whole token itself. So it was if it was ether, so you were losing one ether, not one way of ether. So I think like yeah, if it was BTC, you're losing one
Yikes.
BTC. So yeah. Yeah, shout out to Anderson for finding this one. And like these things can be missed, right? It's because if you like just see that division symbol and see the formula, you know that only one way of token is being lost. But at the end of that process, they were doing like multiplication by the token decimals and that too in a different function. So like you have to be thorough with that process, I think, and just find every case there's possible on the code base. So like just make comments, ask questions, like don't trust but verify the code base.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. And with Immunify stuff, it's also the mediation process is also it's also quite
Mm.
interesting. Because with the contests, um, as we said before, is very like adversarial, but if you submit a bug on like Immunify, or I've never submitted anything to Hack and Proof, but I'm sure they're there to to mediate, you know what I mean, and get
Yeah,
you
I've,
paid out
I've heard
fairly.
stories. Yeah, they're like they're different kind of scenarios. I've heard that sometimes the protocol doesn't want to pay the submitter of the work, but I think Immunify does a great job at mediation. So they come in between and they do make sure that you are your issue has been handled correctly.
Yeah. And what are your favorite kinds of bugs to find? Like, you go into a code base and think, if there's one kind of bug that I want to find, what's it going to be? What are your favorite
My
bugs?
favorite kind of bug would be, I think there's no category, but like business logic issues. I did found like a pretty cool like business logic issue in like a recent contest that I did. What they were doing is like they had like you can also like in that protocol you can open your own pool. So you would be the manager of the pool, obviously. So and then what the users can do is that they can come into your pool, join your pool, and like deposit funds in a into that tool. So let's say there are 10 users and you are the manager of the tool, and what you can do is like invest their funds into like different strategies like velodrome, optimism, or like Aave. So what the case that I thought was that the manager can take your funds and open a pretty risky situation, like not risky, a risky position on Aave, which is like close to liquidation, and like he can self liquidate that position and make a profit, and the funds of the users would be lost. So like thinking like that, so like what the manager can do in this case to like grief
Cause
users.
damage.
And yeah, exactly, because like you can also think that the manager can be trusted, but in this case he cannot be trusted because anyone can be a manager of any tool, right? So yeah, so like also like I do choose my contest based on my like weaknesses. So let's say if I am not that good in perpetuals, I would be participating in a contest
That uses
that's based
perpetual.
on perpetuals. Yeah, exactly. So like let's just get strong in that area and just get a better output. So like also I participate in this contest just because there was external integrations and I'm not that good. Well, like I don't used to be that good in like integration stuff. So I read about Aave, like if you are integrating with Aave, what can go wrong, siloed assets, the security module there, and yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's interesting.
basically like learning with contests. Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting because most people would be more inclined to go where their strengths are. But if you kind of go to where your weaknesses are, chances are like a lot of other
yeah,
people probably
learn
aren't going
something.
to be good at either
Yeah,
as well. Um,
exactly.
but yeah, well, we seem to be run out of time. Thank you so much for speaking with us today, Saksham, about your
My pleasure.
experiences. I hope that
It's
we
been a
get
pleasure.
to do this again soon. This has been a very interesting conversation.
Well, thanks for having me. I hope there was some output out of my interview, and yeah, thanks for having me again.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man. Bye bye. Great day.